Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swizz, here to talk Brisbane Lions match sim. The Lions have just played the Collingwood Pies and the Gold Coast Suns in a triple header, a bit of a unique situation due to the Fremantle playing the Indigenous boys, but it was still good for the Lions to get out there and play a couple of teams, not playing each other, and we're here to talk about it. And joining me tonight is Reece. How are you, mate?
Good day, good evening. How are you?
I'm well, mate. It's always good to watch some footy, especially on a Thursday night, and which is something the Lions are going to feature on quite a bit, being the premiers. And yeah, no, it's just a good contest actually for both matches. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, especially in 2 weeks' time, we start the season off against Geelong on a Thursday night as well, and yeah, it was great to be also at the Freo Indigenous All Stars game preseason, and then also to actually see this game as well too. It's a kind of strange format because obviously I don't think there's ever been a three-way team before, or three-way game in a three-way, three teams in one game. Because I was thinking maybe they might have an extra goal on the other side, so that way it's like sort of like three goals in one, but no, they decided to do two quarters each team, and obviously Brisbane got the short straw, had to play 4 quarters straight, whereas Collingwood and Gold Coast had a bit of a rest in between. But I felt the Collingwood and Brisbane game, they were a bit more softer, whereas Gold Coast came out a bit harder and stronger as well too. So Gold Coast ended up winning that game, but then Brisbane ended up winning the Collingwood game. But it was some good signs to show. Obviously, the round one team may not feature all those players, but you get to see what the VFL players are like, and also can play players out of position and see how they go in a different spot as well too. So it's good to look out for. Obviously, it's different to what you would especially from the finals to the pre-seasons. Obviously, a bit different intensity as well too.
100% there, but nonetheless, it's still good to see some of the better players get the cobwebs out and go through their motions. The Lions in that first game lined up as expected, Neil Dunkley and Will Ashcroft, but I feel like all of them were in first gear, just plodded along and did what they had to do to run those cobwebs out. And usually it's the case in here. They'll be building more for the next preseason game over at Brighton Homes Arena, which is also on a Thursday night next week, and leading into that first round, Geelong. So they've actually got three Thursday night games in a row as they prepare for that round zero kickoff. And the new recruit, Levi Ashcroft, didn't feature in that first game. He did get to have a run around in the second match against the Suns, so he looked pretty good in the midfield, which would be a great. Well, we knew the quality of this kid, but did have a couple of preseason hiccups, so good to see him out there and running around and doing his thing.
Yeah, Levi Ashcroft was pretty good. And last year, I was actually saying when I was at the after party of the players, I was saying actually that watch out for Levi next year. Like he's going to be quite good and a bit better than Will as well too. So obviously the brotherly love as well too. But it's good to learn off, especially having Marcus as a father as well too. Like what better to learn than games record holder as well too. And Levi is definitely showed why everyone probably wanted him as a number one pick as well too. So obviously it's just the preseason game, but that's good signs as well too. And it'll be interesting to see. Like it'll be nice to have the two Ashcrofts in the one team as well too. But I hopefully he does stay. He does get picked in the first round, and plus it'll be good for fantasy as well too. Because if that happens, then obviously the round zero you'll be able to watch how he performs. If he scores well, then it'll be a cash cow to get in round one because most classic leagues don't start till round one. So you can actually, and same with the super coach, most of the super coaches and the dream teamers out there doesn't start till round one. So you can actually watch how he goes in round one, zero. So hopefully he does get a pick as well too.
Yeah, for sure, mate. And I think he'll be very highly owned nonetheless. And the fact that we get that free hit in round zero, yeah, if he does anything, pretty well he has to walk in the park and not get injured. And I think his ownership will be through the roof. Being a Premier's team, there usually doesn't mean there's going to be too many relevant players out, except for Primos. But it's a bit of a different story this year for the Lions because of the situation with Ashcroft coming in. Also, they picked up young Marshall, who has done quite well through training. So he's a bit of a watch, maybe not as a starter, but as the season rolls on, could be definitely a downgrade option. So the Lions do have a couple of rookies, which we'll get to monitor this year. Brandon Ryan, who I've been pretty hot on about at centre half forward. Sam Daisley in incumbent at the moment. He's got the spot, but didn't look that impressive tonight, where compared to, say, your Logan Morris, who I thought he's put on a bit of size, is definitely doing better in those second efforts. So he was somebody that was impressive. And there's also a young fellow in Gallup who, a bit of a promising forward for the future.
Yeah, it was funny how Morris got the first game last year too, because he wasn't even planning on playing. He was just planning to walk up and watch the game, and then we had unfortunately had all those ACLs, and we had those people that went down. Starcevich went down before the game, and so he had to fill in. Had to play 2 games in one day as well too, and had the wrong boots. He was wearing Will Ashcroft's boots, so it's quite crazy how he debuted that game, and so he seems to still have been flourishing from the year. And I think those injuries that we had actually allowed those young players to actually develop an extra year out of them. And yeah, Gallup, he played well in the previous intra club match as well too. So it would be good to him as well. And I know a lot of the media seem to say, oh, last year they're saying it would be hard for Brisbane to win with Danaher. Now they're saying, oh, Danaher's left a big hole, but with the youngsters there and also the players that are coming back from injuries, I feel that that hole can be filled a lot more easier now, and especially with players like Morris, Gallup, and still got Hipwood to come back as well too, and we've got Sam Day obviously as backup as well too, so they can all play in the tall forwards.
Yeah, for sure. You've definitely got options, and you've got enough quality with the smaller guys around them, Loman, Rayner, and Cameron, that the Lions can always get guys on the scoreboard. So I don't think it's going to be like it's a loss, because Danaher's obviously going to be a massive loss, but there are guys there. Brandon Ryan is mature age. You picked him up part of that trade with Hawthorn a couple of years ago involving Gunston. So I really like him, and he's a cheaper option. I think he'll get opportunities throughout the year. If he doesn't start, well, again, it could be a potential another downgrade option. So I don't, it's not the superstar centre half forward there, but there are some players that are going to be competing with each other and putting pressure on each other to take that spot throughout the season.
And interesting about Brandon Ryan, big shout out to WA Lion supporters out here. There's a guy called Alec Arena, and he looks exactly like Brandon Ryan, and he's a Brisbane Lions fan. So we always stir each other up and send pictures of him as there he is, you're playing in the game and that. So it's no, it's good to see how Brandon Ryan getting the gig as well too. And I feel that it was a good trade because it worked out well, because Jack Gunston spent a few years of at the Lions getting into the younger players, but now he's gone back to Hawthorn, where I feel that he's a legend at Hawthorn, and it allowed Brandon Ryan to come out to Brisbane and spend a few more years as well too, because he's about 6 years younger than Gunston. So it's nice to see how that trade sort of, I think, benefit both teams as well too.
Yeah, for sure, mate. 100%. One player that didn't feature tonight and won't be featuring come round one will be Kitty Coleman. He's had a setback and will take some time. So for the 22% of people at time of recording who still have him in your team, you need to move him on. The one there from a footy point of view that was impressive tonight was Connor McKenna. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I've added him straight back in as that seventh defender to take that spot that Kitty Coleman at some point will take. And the other one that looked good in defence was Ryan Lester. We know what Lester continues to do. A very solid player last year, playing the 23 games. And with Dode not going to be up until at least early mid-season, I think Lester will keep his spot back there and be part of that defence.
Yeah, so actually I was with Kitty Coleman last weekend as well in Perth, because he came over, even though he wasn't playing in the Indigenous, but he came over and he actually said to me that round 4 he'll be back. So looking at round 5 start. So those that have him, just maybe wait until the next month and get him in round 5. So he should be back by then. And also with Ryan Lester, I've been banging on about him for the last few years. I keep saying to everyone, like, we need to have him in the team. We need to have him in the team. He's one of the stalwarts behind us as well too, because every year he gets like this 1-year contract. He's been on and off the list. He's been rookie listed. He's been dropped. He's been added on and everything like that. So that last year we literally had one game we had no defense. We actually have had that Hipwood down defense. We also had to have Zorko. He had to go in Coleman's spot, obviously, and then we had Starcevich, Andrews out, and pretty much he was the only fit defender all season. And I'm glad he got the premiership for him, because he's probably like a true team player as well too. And yeah, same with McKenna. He's usually been the sub as well too. Like Chris Fagan loves him as a sub because he's nice and fast. He does a lot of Irish skills as well too, like these kicks he does, which is quite unusual compared to the most convenient AFL player as well too. So it kind of can throw the opposition off and kind of help that way. Um, yeah, hopefully he can get a bit more game time under his belt as well too. He was pretty good at Essendon and showed good glimpses so far at Brisbane as well too. So I have a feeling he may still be a sub at times this year, but it'll be interesting to see what Chris does with him.
Yeah, I just think because obviously a couple of these injuries are still not there. Yeah, there's every chance I think he could start the season, especially if he puts up another performance like that against Adelaide. It'll be probably hard to knock him back from the start in 22. But then as players come back in, because there is quite a few defenders who are injured. Darcy Gardner's on that list as well. So the Lions got tons of options potentially if they all get themselves fit and firing. But yeah, I think to start off, it's McKenna's spot, and then it becomes a bit of a fight as the season goes on.
Definitely, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Dode plays as well for Brisbane, because the week he was back to debut was the week he actually did his unfortunately did his ACL. And I had at the after party with the players after the grand final. I actually had a good old chat with Tom. He was asking me what I do with the club and what he does, and I was having a chat with him, and he's very welcoming. He was actually a part throughout, even though he wasn't playing, he was quite a good leader to the younger players as well too. He was giving insight as well too, and helping the players out as well. So it'll be nice to actually see him actually get a game like. And when he was at Adelaide, I actually did enjoy watching him play as well too. So he was one of my favourite Adelaide players. So I'm kind of glad that Brisbane picked him up.
Yeah, no, completely understandable there. I know a few people are already sort of commenting about Will Ashcroft's game. As I said at the start of the show, the three main guys just kind of getting out the cobweb. So don't read too much into that. Don't start making wholesale changes. If you're on Will Ashcroft, back the research you've done all pre-season, because I don't expect Neil Dunkley and Ashcroft to come out and get 25 touches in a game, a shortened game. It was just it's building match fitness for these guys. You do have to also remember, with a lot of the Lions guys from the Supercoach perspective, is they've had a shortened pre-season compared to everyone else. It is the natural thing after you've won a flag. So for those sort of purposes, the best idea is to try to get them in after their bye, because most likely they will start slow. It's just a natural thing. But at the same time, if you are confident on, and because of the value of, say, a Will Ashcroft, there's no problems with sort of still picking him anyway, because you'll obviously be backing him to continue to build on that Norm Smith medal performance that he had. And yeah, if he does that, then yeah, he's going to definitely go up in value.
Yeah, and he's cheap as well too, especially because he missed half a season last year, and I think he was like an 80 odd average or something, and in the finals he was getting like 100 and that. So he'll still make money, and but yeah, just be wary. Obviously, the teams that have the early buys makes it a little hard to actually load up on players up until it's better to wait, and especially they got Geelong and Sydney the first 2 weeks, so they got Geelong in the Gabba, and then they've got the grand final rematch against Sydney. So it's not the ideal start either. So it's like it's going to be quite tough for those couple of games, and then obviously they have the bye, and then it opens up a little bit. But and same as last few years, Brisbane always start slow. They're always about like 2-2 or 3-2, so they're pretty slow starters. So as you say, I don't expect them. Well, hopefully they win as a fan, but it's just obviously they do start a bit slow normally.
Yeah, and we've had some stats coming through. So Will Ashcroft had the 13 touches tonight. He played nearly 3/4. It said here, one tackle, one free kick against. So only the 29 AFL fantasy, but they are shortened games. So again, don't read too much into that. Lachie Neale actually still managed to find it 21 times. He's just an absolute machine, that guy. He's probably going actually a little bit under the radar this season compared to some of the other premiums out there. And I guess it's got to be due to the buy, only in 7% at the moment, but somebody that needs to not be ignored, especially if you're in draft leagues too. I've seen his sort of ranking falling down. Again, it's another year of age, short in pre-season, but this is a guy who can pump out massive scores on any given week, and the fact that he still racked up 69 fantasy points in a short game just shows that he's not going away anywhere for 2025.
Which one was that? Sorry, I just missed that
Lockie
last
Neal,
one.
mate. Lockie Neal.
Oh yes, Lockie Neal. How can I miss Lockie Neal? Yeah, no, Lockie Neal. Yeah, he's a legend. He 2 Brownlows almost could have been a 3 Brownlows. He's a champion of the game, and you can see like the captaincy as well too. He's come around. He's captain again this year as well too, and seen as a cross from Fremantle to Brisbane, he seems to have flourished even more as well. And getting in the bowl, he's always seems to either be dishing it off or like receiving it as well too. And it's like it was interesting. The grand final, he actually was playing on 1 foot, and they put the needle in the wrong spot, so he could actually feel the pain as well too. And that was like during like the second quarter, third quarter. So literally, he still played that grand final. Looked like he was not even injured, and he still smashed it too. So that's probably the caliber he is as well too. And Neil, and Dunkley as well. It's great to have Dunkley a part of the team as well too, because he's a great defensive midfielder as well too, which is what the Lions midfield needs too.
Yeah, and if you want a bit of a point of difference, like Dunkley's not a bad shout, but I think this probably doesn't have the value compared to previous years. Zorko will be getting still a lot of that ball through halfback. Not a lot's changing there. Obviously, just one more year older, and but the fact that he played 23 games last year, as I think he's a 34, 35-year-old, was pretty impressive in itself. But there's no reason why he might not be able to back it up and do it again. So somebody that you could definitely start at. You could even start at him and look at flipping to a Giants or a Suns player if that's the way you want to go for those people who like to play their fantasy games like that.
Yeah, the Zane Zorko is a funny one because back in round 1 last year, obviously when Coleman went down in the opening round, I said to them, watch out, Zorko's got a great kick and he's going to continue throughout this year because he's been receiving this new acupuncture from this needle man who's been helping him with this new therapy to keep going. Obviously, he's a bit old, but it's great to like doing that, and people laughing at me like, oh, Zorko's not a good kick and all that, and turns out he ended up was one of our best kicks for the season. And for him to be like 35 getting old and he's still playing like he's like an 18-year-old, like and that position that he played in was actually the first time he's played in that position for ages, because normally he's like either up forward or in midfield. So it's actually nice to see he can actually change roles and actually benefit the team. And I feel that with Coleman obviously going to be out for the first 4 weeks as well of the year, he'll continue in that role. And also during when Coleman is back, they have trained together down back as well too. So it looks like he should stay down there. And it'll be nice because if someone tags Coleman, then Zorko can go off. And if Zorko gets tagged, then Coleman can go off. So I believe that Zorko should stay down there, which will be nice.
Yeah, no, for sure. From a Supercoach draft perspective, I know a lot of people have their drafts coming up. There's still some value there for you in regards to what position they'll go in Andrews and Wilmot. There's 2 guys who are, can easily average in the early 80s. And there's probably other names that are probably standing out around that same average where people are going to bypass them. So definitely consider those 2 guys, because you can do a lot worse of owning those sort of guys from defenders. Hugh McCluggage is another one that always gets kind of bypassed in these situations. Only averaged a 98 last year. Just be wary of the fact that they both Ashcroft boys are going to coming in, so he will be probably playing more wing. Maybe that is one for me this year that I would personally avoid, and just kind of see what happens and then let somebody else take the risk, because I don't think he's going to get the bump like he's had in previous years. And it's a bit the same with Jared Berry. There's so many mouths there now at Brisbane. It's such a strong lineup, but at the same time, there's only a certain amount of points that can go around for any given day.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to budge on Hugh because he's actually my favourite player. So you always got to have your favourite player on your team. So he's quite a pod and quite a unique point of difference. But it definitely will be interesting to see how many midfield minutes he'll actually get now. Obviously, with the two Ashcroft boys in and that. So like like even last year, he would he'd get in there for a bit, but then he will get back out again. So and now obviously with Levi in, that will also take less time in the mid. But yeah, it's hard to budge. As I say, it's hard to budge from your favorite player. So but yeah, and Harris Andrews is definitely a lot more of a super coach player compared to fantasy, and then I find Wilmot's probably more of a fantasy rock type player compared to super coach. So it's interesting the two differences. Like obviously super coach is more efficiency in that, whereas fantasy is more like racking up the ball. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. While I've got you here, tell us a little bit about the Brisbane fan base over there in Perth, mate.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, good question. Glad you asked that. I'll pay you later that you asked that. Yeah. So yeah, I run the WA Brisbane Lions cheer squad. So if you look on Facebook, WA Brisbane Lions supporters group, I run that, and we do quite a few good events. Like the last few years before the Freo games or Eagles game, depending on who plays. Usually we play Freo over in WA. And we have a boat cruise, so we help out with. So Des Headland provides a boat, and then we have a few of the past champions. We've had like Des Headland, we've had Greg Swan on the boat, we've had Ash McGrath, we've had Bo McDonald, a few other past players. And before the games, we always have like a food and drinks and that, cruise around the river. And then we get to the game as well, too. That's on game day. And then obviously, when the game's not in Perth, we tend to go down to the Shoe and a few other places around Perth. And with our cheer squad, we watch the games as well. Also, throughout the year on the Facebook side of things as well too, I interview a few of the past players as well. We've had like Ackermanis, we've had Anthony Corey and a few other past champions as well. Each week we talk a bit about footy and talk about the Lions games as well too. So it's a great community. And it's growing as well too. So if you are a Lions fan, you're more than welcome to jump on board and have a look at the Brisbane Lions WA supporters group. And if you ever come out to WA, just reach out, and we're happy to show you around, see some quokkas and any parts of Perth that you look out for as well too. And Optus Stadium is a lovely stadium. Obviously, I was at the finals at the Gabba and the MCG. It's a great atmosphere, the MCG, great seats and that. But Optus Stadium is quite brand new, and the lights is pretty cool. And we've also got cup holders as well too. So that's a little bonus about Optus Stadium compared to MCG. I'm like, we need cup holders at the MCG as well too, I think.
I love it, Reece. I'll put all those details in the show notes. So if you are a Lions supporter who is living in Perth or well in WA in just general, or if you are a Lions supporter who does fly over for the different games or just happen to be in town, yeah, I'll share those notes so you can get in touch with Reece on for the game days that the Lions. Obviously it's like any of these interstate groups. You don't probably get to see them a lot, but it's great when they come to town for their one or two trips in a year. And the fact that Fremantle potentially could be up there this season, depending on where the Lions and where Freo finish, there's every chance that you could be seeing that as a game not only in the round 23 match, which is Fremantle Brisbane this year, but repeated again in finals. Though I'm still pretty confident the Lions should be finishing up there, but anything can happen in any given footy season.
Yeah, I think if it's I don't know if I'll be able to come back to the state if it's a Fremantle or Brisbane grand final. Like they'll probably kick me out of WA. But no, especially if Brisbane beat Fremantle. But no, I think Freo will be up there as well too. But I just hope that we do all right again. Obviously you can't predict what's going to happen at the end, but with 7 players returning and addition to the club, and obviously we lose Danaher, but it should be another good season with the Lions. So hopefully it's a good season. And as I say, round 23 should be a great day. We got the boat organised for that already. So we just need to get a few past players as well too, which should be good. So that'd be good.
Oh, brilliant, mate. Well, Reece, thank you for joining us today. It's been great chatting and giving us that little insight about what life is there and what you guys do as a Brisbane Lions supporter group in Perth.
And likewise with you as well too. It's great to see your pods and also what you do as well with the community as well. And it was great with the BBL Supercoach, and now obviously the AFL season as well too. And keep up the good work. And if you ever want to come and join any of the lives throughout the year, more than welcome to have you on there as well too. So keep up the good work.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you, Reece. Thank you, community. We'll be back with another match sim very soon. Catches. Bye.